We didn't lose the world's healthiest food because it was bad. We lost it because it was too good for the system we built. Welcome to Purely Garden. Where in the world are you watching from today? Drop your location in the comments, like the video, and subscribe to the channel. Let's dive in. In June 2014, a dedicated team of nutritionists and data analysts, working within the hallowed halls of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, quietly launched an unprecedented, monumental investigation. Their singular, ambitious goal was to solve a deceptively basic, yet historically stubborn scientific mystery. What, in definitive terms, is the single healthiest, most potent food on Earth? They were explicitly not interested in culinary opinions or anecdotal evidence. They were utterly disinterested in transient dietary fads or influencer trends. They demanded cold, hard, measurable, reproducible evidence. They selected 47 widely praised fruits, vegetables, and superfoods, then measured, with painstaking precision, the nutrients each provided per 100 calories: potassium, fiber, protein, calcium, iron, thiamine, riboflavin, niacin, folate, zinc, vitamins A, B6, B12, C, D, E, and K. This created a precise, flawless nutrient density scorecard. The peer-reviewed results were startling. Kale scored a modest 49. Spinach performed far better at 86. Blueberries, often hailed as the ultimate antioxidant, managed just 11. And at the very top, with a perfect score of 100, stood an ancient, overlooked plant. Not exotic or rare, but a humble, peppery green growing in cold, shallow streams across the northern hemisphere, watercress. According to the most thorough, comprehensive scientific nutritional evaluation ever conducted and published by the United States government, watercress is definitively the most nutrient-dense edible substance on the entire planet. And yet, paradoxically, if you step into a typical sprawling American supermarket today, you almost certainly will not see it promoted. You will see endless, vibrant rows of dark, curly kale. You will see towering, polished pyramids of shiny red apples, but the true reigning monarch of human nutrition, the champion, is conspicuously, utterly absent. Why? The underlying reason is not a shadowy agricultural conspiracy. The illuminating truth is much more fascinating and far more profoundly tragic. It is an epic story about how we, as a society, deliberately engineered an entire modern global food system that elevated one single, logistical measurement above every other consideration, and how that singular silent choice quietly erased the most powerful, biologically complex food we ever cultivated. This is the forgotten story of the silent ghost haunting the modern produce aisle. To understand what was lost, travel back to Victorian London. In the mid-1800s, the city throbbed as the heart of the Industrial Revolution, soot-filled and fog-drenched. For the struggling urban poor, life was brutal and short. Diets consisted of stale bread, weak sweetened tea, and cheap fats. Malnutrition was rampant, and scurvy, caused by acute vitamin C deficiency, stalked the overcrowded, damp slums mercilessly. The pragmatic Victorians, however, cultivated an unlikely, brilliant dietary solution growing in local streams. They called it affectionately the poor man's bread, the laborer's tonic. Each misty morning, long before the pale sunrise crept weakly over the Thames, hundreds of determined street vendors spread efficiently throughout the awakening city. Many were impoverished children, some only 5 or 6 years old, barefoot against the biting cold stone, carefully balancing large woven baskets, piled perilously high, with fresh, dripping, vibrant green bundles of foraged watercress. The distinctive melodic shout of fresh watercresses, filled the smoky London dawn air. It reverberated powerfully against soot-stained factory bricks and cramped, crumbling tenement walls. For a single precious penny, an exhausted laborer could buy a generous, life-giving bunch, and miraculously, inside that one verdant bundle, they received more absorbable iron than a handful of spinach, more bioavailable calcium than a full glass of cow's milk. and more potent, natural vitamin C than a whole, imported orange. It was nothing short of an accessible nutritional miracle, a leafy lifeline. The Victorians prized watercress so highly, they built entire infrastructure systems to supply the city. In Hampshire, intricate gravel beds were carved into pristine chalk-fed streams, crystal-clear aquatic farms, where water flowed constantly to keep the tender leaves crisp and flavorful. They even built a dedicated railway, the legendary Midhants Railway, known simply as the Watercress Line, to rush this perishable green from rural stream to city. The crop was cut by hand at 4 in the morning, loaded onto steam trains by 6, and sold on London streets by 8. In under 4 hours, watercress travelled from icy stream to a labourer's sandwich, a remarkable early example of large-scale farm-to-table efficiency. Then abruptly, everything globally shifted. As the tumultuous 20th century mechanized arrived, urban populations exploded, surged exponentially. Cities sprawled uncontrollably outward, stretching far beyond the reach of regional rail lines. Local seasonal food systems that had sustainably nourished humanity for millennia began to irrevocably fracture, break. We desperately needed a new, scalable way to feed millions now living hundreds, even thousands, of miles from productive farms. We required an engineered, industrial solution. In 1894, the W. Attlee Burpee Seed Company delivered a revolutionary lettuce, derived from hardy French Batavia strains. It was compact, sturdy, and pale green, forming a tight, firm, cabbage-like head. The real breakthrough was logistical. It could be packed densely in crates, buried in ice, and shipped by rail from California to New York. A week later, it arrived virtually unchanged. Because it traveled constantly under protective ice, it was aptly named iceberg. Iceberg lettuce was, undeniably, a packaging and shipping engineering wonder. It became the very first vegetable to behave reliably like a standardized industrial product, a widget. It did not wilt easily, it did not bruise visibly, it stacked flawlessly, uniformly in boxes. It was consistent, predictable, reliable, and physically tough, a shipper's dream. In 1919, Americans ate approximately 4.1 pounds of lettuce per person each year. By the prosperous mid-1950s, that astonishing number climbed precipitously to over 14 pounds per person annually. Iceberg had decisively become America's most consumed ubiquitous vegetable, a symbol of post-war abundance. Then came the defining technological breakthroughs. In the 1950s, Whirlpool pioneered vacuum cooling, instantly removing deadly field heat after harvest. Modified atmosphere packaging, flushing bags with inert gases, soon followed. By the 1960s, hardy iceberg lettuce could remain deceptively fresh for up to 28 days. Harvested on Monday in California's sun-drenched Salinas Valley, it could be loaded onto refrigerated trains, stored in warehouses for a week, shipped across the country, and still sit in a customer's fridge for a full month. This longevity became the holy grail, the ultimate prize of the industrial food complex. Supermarkets loved predictable iceberg, low risk, high profit margins, stable, slow-moving inventory. It was perfect. Watercress was the opposite, a distributor's nightmare. 93% water, with delicate hollow stems, it depends on constant water pressure to stay crisp. Once cut, it begins dying immediately, wilting within hours. Even under ideal refrigeration, its shelf life rarely exceeds 2 to 3 days, maybe 5 in perfect laboratory conditions. In the era of long-haul trucking and centralized distribution, delicate watercress became a liability. It couldn't survive cross-country trips, wilting in vibrating trucks and collapsing under fluorescent supermarket lights. This wasn't a minor issue. It was a catastrophic tenfold difference in shelf life within a system built around warehouse timing. Supermarkets needed produce that could sit for weeks, be uniform, blemish-free, and reliably available year-round. Tragically, watercress failed every industrial requirement. When the historic Watercress Railway closed in 1963, due to beaching cuts. English watercress lost its last fast route to London. Slower road transport took longer, and even with improved refrigeration, the leaves arrived limp and unsellable. Meanwhile, rugged iceberg thrived, crossing continents without complaint, stacking efficiently on pallets, and staying deceptively crisp for weeks, even months. The system made its choice, not for flavor, not for health, but for logistics and convenience alone. We collectively replaced a living vegetable that scored a perfect 100 out of 100 with one that scored a pitiful 7. That is the real shocking score iceberg lettuce received in the monumental CDC study. A mere 7, not 70. 7. Iceberg lettuce is 96% inert water. The pale, blanched inner leaves, the crunchy part we usually eat, never saw nurturing sunlight, meaning almost zero chlorophyll, few trace vitamins, and minimal protective antioxidants. It is basically crunchy, structured water, a culinary placeholder, but it was supremely convenient, and in the efficiency-obsessed 20th century, convenience ruled absolutely, unquestioned. By the materialistic 1980s, over 90% of Britain's traditional watercress farmers had stopped growing, bankrupted. The 1,000 thriving acres that once fed Victorian England shrank catastrophically to just 150 struggling acres. In America, watercress never genuinely stood a competitive chance. It was reduced to a mere garnish, a decorative, bitter green pushed disdainfully aside on fancy restaurant plates. We tragically traded measurable nutrition for measurable shelf life. We foolishly exchanged nature's most chemically complex, bioactive food for a biological shipping container, a vessel. And only now, decades later, are we beginning to see the staggering hidden cost. When discussing modern dietary crises, we focus intently on sugar and fat, but rarely, if ever, on crucial nutrient density. We consume more empty calories than ever in history, yet our cells remain chronically nutrient-starved, deficient. Our plates are filled with foods deliberately bred for durability, monstrous size, and addictive sweetness, systematically stripped of the bitter, defensive phytochemicals our bodies evolved over millennia to need, to use. Watercress naturally contains a potent compound called phenethyl isothiocyanate. It creates its signature, sharp, cleansing bite. In controlled laboratory studies, this remarkable compound actively suppresses cancer cell development, triggers apoptosis. It is preventive food-based medicine. Generic iceberg contains none of it. Utterly inert. It is safe, predictable. It is bland, forgettable. It is nutritionally empty. Avoid. When the CDC finally released its groundbreaking study in 2014, intrigued reporters sought out the few remaining, aging watercress farmers. One particular grower, whose family had lovingly farmed the same chalk streams for 5 generations, simply laughed wearily. We have been shouting this simple truth for decades. No one in power listens. Victorian labourers did not need peer-reviewed studies. They knew instinctively, experientially, that watercress kept their families strong, their teeth firm, their blood rich. One humble bunch for breakfast delivered more genuine nutrition than anything else they could possibly afford. Victorian England moved precious watercress from Hampshire to London in a mere 4 hours. Modern America routinely stores industrially grown produce in massive warehouses for over 2 weeks before it ever reaches a supermarket shelf. The entire global system changed its fundamental priorities. Humble watercress could not change its biological reality. The profound tragedy is not merely that we collectively stopped eating it. The deeper tragedy is we completely forgot why we ever truly did. The Victorians entirely lacked mass spectrometers and genetic sequencers. They lacked definitive government nutritional reports and daily recommended allowances. But they understood intimately the language of their own bodies. When their strength inexplicably faded, when their children's faces grew pale, when the damp winter lingered too long in their bones, they knew to reach instinctively for the poor man's bread, the stream-fed tonic. They could literally feel its vitality working within them, a tangible resurgence. We, in our modern age of abundance, have utterly lost that foundational bodily intuition. We now trust colorful labels, clever branding, and fortified claims. And because Watercress has no multinational marketing budget, holds no patented seed variety, and does not fit neatly into standardized plastic clamshell containers, it remains perpetually unseen, a forgotten relic. But listen closely, it is not truly gone. The cold, spring-fed streams still flow. The ancient plant still grows wild and vigorous in quiet, wet, hidden places across continents. You can occasionally find it at weekend farmers' markets, or tucked apologetically into a specialty, humidified corner of an upscale grocery store. It does not look particularly impressive under fluorescent lights. It is often just a small, seemingly overpriced bunch bound tightly with a simple green rubber band, already looking slightly tired, slightly wilted from its journey. It may cost $4, while a giant plastic-wrapped iceberg head costs $2. But you must learn to look intently beyond the mere price tag. Look beyond the drooping, delicate leaves. That modest, unassuming plant has survived ice ages, industrial revolutions, and the rise of global logistics. It is a resilient testament to a different paradigm. It reminds us, whispering, that the best food is not necessarily what photographs well or lasts the longest on a truck. The best food fights to live, and in that struggle, it creates the compounds that help us fight to live too. Our modern system catastrophically optimized for the wrong variable. It optimized meticulously for the needs of trucks, warehouses, and quarterly earnings reports, not for the complex, biological needs of human beings. You are not a semi-truck. You are not a climate-controlled warehouse. You are a vibrating, living, cellular organism requiring dense, complex fuel for repair, thought, and vitality. And the single most potent fuel source on Earth is still quietly waiting, if you consciously choose to seek it, to see it. All systems naturally optimize for what they are designed to measure, not necessarily what truly matters. We tracked shelf life in days, shipping density in pounds per cubic foot, and cost per unit with obsessive precision, but ignored nutrients per calorie, the very measure of life itself. As a result, the vegetable that scored a perfect 100 was hidden and obscure, while the one scoring a mere 7 dominated shelves, fast food chains, and school cafeterias. This isn't a story of Watercress failing, it's a story of our metrics failing our health. Watercress did not vanish from our diets because it was weak or inferior. It vanished because the economic and logistical system we built was designed to measure, value, and reward the wrong things entirely. So next time you walk the produce aisle, past the polished pyramids and plastic-wrapped iceberg, go to the quiet corner and find the small bunch of watercress. It won't last long. Let that fragility be the lesson. Its perishability is proof of life, alive, active, and waiting to help you feel truly alive too. If this deep dive revealed what we lost when convenience replaced vitality, like this video and subscribe to Purely Garden. Thank you for watching.